Hello, welcome to another software instructional video for Jyotish Deepika Pro 2020. This is Dr. Kumara, the author, designer, and programmer of Jyotish Deepika. In this video, we will look at working with KP Horary Charts and Horary Astrology. Just before we begin, I just want to caution viewers here. Prashna Astrology always works based on the mind, and Guruji has very clearly stated that Buddhi is Karmanusarini, which means the working of the intellect and the mind is as per one's karma, one's vasanas. The client has to give out the first number that comes into his mind. He cannot do a pick and choose. It is not a random selection. Krishnamurti ji has time and again said, if there is no urge, do not venture any predictions. You will go wrong. If somebody is only testing an astrologer, it is always better to be prudent because the nature is not backing him at that time. So if you do not find out whether a particular query is legitimate or not, then it is difficult to say whether your predictions will be true or false. So with this few words, let us dive right in. I'm going to double click the Jyotish Deepika Pro 2020 icon, clock face icon, and here Jyotish Deepika is open with the default time chart. Now the first important thing is to create a new Prashna chart. Go to the charts menu, look at the new KP Prashna or Horary chart button and click that. You get a create new Prashna chart dialog. You can look at the various available fields which need to be filled. The client's name, gender, and the date and time of judgment, and the question and the Horary number. These are the mandatory fields. The address, email, client's mobile, and any other detail is left to you if you want to collect it at that point in time, or you can later edit the chart and then add those details. So let us start with a very simple Prashna chart. So let me call this as test client. And then we will leave the gender to male and then the date and time of judgment to this particular moment of time. The place where the judgment location is selected by default to be the default place that is set in the preferences window. If you want, you can click the change judgment place icon. So I have a separate video where I have talked about how to work with the Jyotish Deepika Pro Atlas. So when you launch this to change the place, you get the atlas and then you can select a new place. Then the question that is Prashna, or the question that is really important. And you need to enter the question as precisely as possible and always in the client's own words. And then you select which style of horary. Jyotish Deepika Pro 2020 supports both the classic 1 to 249, which was actually the system taught by Krishnamurti ji, and the newer 1 to 2193, which actually depends on the sub-sublord, whereas the 1 to 249 depends on the sublord alone. Now for the horary number, if the client gives the horary number or you get a horary number in any other way, you can enter it here. Or if you want the system to generate it, then you will only be able to generate it once. So once, if I click this or the random number, it says that you cannot generate another one because this gets disabled. The only other way to get it enabled, which I do not recommend that you follow, but if you find yourself in this error and you really want to re-enable this, just go and change the style of horary and then come back to 1 to 249 and then you get it completely enabled again. Now, I always recommend if you are taking a random number, and asking the system to generate it, just click once and take whatever number that comes there. Because clicking this Horary button multiple times doesn't really add up to anything good in as far as your predictions are concerned. Now once you get these details in, then you can see that the button is enabled. So create new KP Prashna chart button is enabled. This is the new chart that is created. Of course, you have all the basic aspects of a chart. You have the planets and cusps, significators, effective significators, fruitful significators, 4-step theory and aspects on the right side with the button to create a comprehensive report. Since this is a Prashna chart, the date and time of judgment is the time that is used to create the chart, which is why you only have judgment time ruling planets, which you can click and view here. And of course, this icon shows you the entire chart details, giving you for the Panchanga details, astronomical details, and the personal details. On the left side, again, you have the composite Kundali, wherein you can choose the south or the north style. This is extremely simple. And then the Dasha window, and then you have the legend. Now, you can also move the Lagna. So the other facilities that are available for a KP Prashna chart are you can move the Lagna, just like in a birth chart, you can move the Lagna to a different place and then create a chart for that. You can save the Horary chart. And then of course, because if you have more than one chart open, then you can close any chart that you want. And then you have the transit chart, which is there only for birth charts as well as for Horary charts. So the transit chart doesn't really make 100% sense in all Horary situations, because most of the time of judgment is the time when you're looking at the when you have cast the chart. So the judgment date and time, so you know the planets which are in transit, but this is enabled. To go over the various features, as I have explained in the birth charts video, in the planet details, you not only get the positional details of the planet, you also can click on a planet and then get the significations. Similarly, for a cusp, you will get the positional details here, and then you can click on a particular cusp and also get the significator details. And then of course you have the Rahu and Ketu analysis. When you go to the significators tab, here you get the significators or the significations of a planet in terms of A, B, C, D, and similarly for cusps. But here when you select a planet, you will also get the cuspal, the planetary positional details, which are important. And this has been done to prevent you from having to go back. So when you're looking at the significators, if you really want to recollect, okay, this planet is a lord of which house, or where is it located? Earlier, you would have to go back to the planets and cusps tab. Now you can just do it with this one table. So this feature has enabled Jyotish Deepika to become probably the only software where you can either be in the planets and cusps tab or in the significators tab and do over 95% of your analysis and even venture out a prediction. Because you have the Kundali, you have the tables, you have all the required information, you have the positional information, you have significator information, you have Dasha Bhukti Antara, and you have Rahu Ketu information. Here you have ruling planets, and here you have chart information. So with this, you do not need to even leave this particular tab. Or if you're on the planets and cusps tab, you can do 95% of your analysis from there. Now the other tabs here are very similar to the birth chart. Effective significators, you can select any cusp and the system will show you the effective significators, in the sense, essentially, the significations in terms of positive significators and negative significators. When you normalize both and reconcile between them, you get effective significators. You can get fruitful significators for any sort of event. For example, if you're judging marriage, 2, 7, 11, you can select 2, 7, and 11 and run the analysis, and you will get the positive houses, negative houses, and finally you will get the fruitful significators, which are common with the judgment time ruling planets. Now these have been explained in the video, in other videos also on this in this particular series. Then you have the 4-step theory, which is one of the best implementations of 4-step theory. You have the theory itself here, the important rules. You have the 4-step aspects, and then of course this is the 4-step theory for each planet. So there are 4 steps which are color coded in different color fonts, so that you know which step you are looking at. And the order of the planets is also as per their dasha, starting with Ketu and ending with Mercury. So this is how 4-step is arranged. And then of course you have the aspects page, where you have the Western aspects and also the Vedic aspects. Now the difference between the Vedic aspect and the aspects that you saw under the 4-step theory are that in the 4-step theory, the aspects are basically defined in terms of the orb value. A default orb of 3.3333 degrees is chosen, and any difference should be less than that, and then you will say either there is a conjunction or there is an aspect that is positive. Whereas in Vedic aspects, we only take the sign to sign aspects, and you do not take the degrees into consideration. Now this is for most of the working and analysis of a KP Prashna chart. So many people start with the analysis of a Prashna chart with respect to looking at the moon. So for example, if the query is about marriage, then the most important thing is to determine whether the moon is actually connected to one or many of the houses that represent that event. So here marriage, whether moon is connected to 2, 7, 11, or if it is a love marriage, whether it is 2, 5, 7, 11. And if the moon is completely unconnected to any of the significators of those houses, which are positive houses for the query, then you can clearly say that the intention of the querist or the query is actually wrong. It's not in conjunction with what nature would have it, and therefore you can really be on your guard and do not offer or do not venture to offer a prediction in such cases, because most often in such cases the client is lying, or the client may be even testing you as an astrologer. So extremely important for us to understand whether the query is really a legitimate query or not. Sometimes what happens, the clients have it in their mind, but when they articulate it, they will not be able to express their true mental thought. So that could again create a discrepancy. Now there is nothing much for me to explain here, because this chart is similar to the birth chart and any other chart that we have seen earlier. So to move the Lagna, you click on the move Lagna, and then you select whichever cusp you want to move the Lagna to, and the system will create a new chart. And like what I have said about the birth charts, you will always have this Lagna move to as a suffix within the chart, active chart name. So this will also indicate the house to which it is moved to. To save the Prashna chart, the Horary chart, just click on the Save Chart button. So navigate to the folder where you want to. So for simplicity's sake, I'll just create it on the desktop. So it was saved successfully. Always remember that you can save a chart multiple times in different names. You can't use the same name. Of course, it will ask you to replace this file. There is another feature that we have introduced in Jyotisha Deepika Pro, that is, by the default, the software will suggest a name based on the client's name and the number given to you. Now here you can see that there is a suffix of 1 to 249, 1 to 249 in brackets. So there is a suffix of 1 to 249 in the bracket, which basically says that this is a chart which was cast as per the Horary scheme. Now if you are using 1 to 2193, you would see that 1 to 2193 scheme here. I always suggest that when you have a large number of charts, please, when you name the chart, just leave that scheme there and then change the rest of the name as I'm showing it to you on the board. So KP Horary, and then you can give the name of the client. But I always recommend that you retain the suffix, because if you have 100, 200 charts, and if you have a number like 70, you don't know whether it is 70 as per the 1 to 249 scheme or 1. And if you are a person who practices both, right, you also use the 1 to 2193, then it will be difficult for you. So we have introduced the small helpful suffix. So when I create a chart with 1 to 2193, I will just show it to you. To create a new chart with a different scheme. So you can give the client's name, and then you can give the question, and then you select the 1 to 2193 scheme, and here we'll just choose a random number. Okay, 1709, but I can also change this. I can say put 78 if I want to, and I'll create this chart. And once this chart is created, when I save the chart, you see this 1 to 2193. So it gives you this helpful suffix which will help you identify, especially when you have a large number of charts. So that's about it. And once you basically have saved the chart, you can close the chart. I'll just close this, and I'll also show you how to reopen the chart. So you go to open saved chart, and it will navigate to the last saved location on your computer. Select the saved chart, click it open, and you will receive this message if you have the same chart active. It means you did not close the active chart, so it becomes the active chart. To reopen it, you just have to click close, and now you can go and then open a saved chart, and then you see the chart is displayed here. So this is pretty much about how you work with a horary chart. Of course, at any point you can always go to the dashboard and use the tools and utilities within the dashboard. It's very similar to how you used it for the birth chart. So I hope this video was helpful, and we have talked about how to work with Prashna charts, that is Horary astrology charts, in Krishnamurti Paddhati. Thanks for watching. I recommend that you also watch the other instructional videos in the software instructional video series. And if you have not so far subscribed to our Jyotisha Deepika channel, my humble request is to subscribe, and also click the bell icon so that you get the notification when new videos are released. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon in another video.